Our first transition question has a bunch of little twists here. The most obvious to me is that we are putting our transition word in the middle of our sentence. So I probably want to think of it more like it's here. But regardless, when I read these sentences, I'm just going to ignore it completely. Let's just see if we can understand the relationship without worrying about the choices, and then maybe we'll kind of have a sense of what we're looking for. Following the American Revolutionary War, North American foodways underwent a radical transformation, fueled in large part by spiking consumer demand for certain grains. The cultivation, trade, and transportation of maize and wheat reconfigured the continent's existing regional foodways into a globally oriented food system. So there was a radical transformation. Things were reconfigured. Sounds like we're just repeating the same point. So now I might want to do that. Now, in particular is a fancy version of kind of for example, or specifically. Alternatively is a bit weirder. That's kind of like an or, maybe a but, kind of depending on how you want to think about it. By comparison, that's also a but. Now, I know that might seem like we're saying two things are similar. When you say by comparison, you actually are trying to emphasize the difference between them. So that's sneaky. It's a little bit of a trap. Now, second of all, I can tell it's already wrong. There's no first of all, right? That's why we would use that. First of all this, second of all that. So there's none of that. So that's wrong. So if I want things to be similar, I think I really want A, right? Because that's going to do that. So let's read it again with that in the front of that sentence. Following the American Revolutionary War, North American foodways underwent a radical transformation, fueled in large part by spiking consumer demand for certain grains. For example, the cultivation, trade, and transportation of maize and wheat reconfigured the continent's existing regional foodways into a globally oriented food system, right? It underwent a radical change. For example, the transportation of maize and wheat changed in this particular way, right? It's definitely, it's an example, yeah. There's no but here. And so alternatively, I still think of it as an or, but it has that kind of contrasting element to it. So maybe it's kind of one of those cases where you have two words that mean the same thing. But I don't think we even need to use that strategy here. My dumb summary for A just kind of fits, right? It seems like an example using wheat and maize of the overall food system. So I would say the most important move that we made here is taking that blank that's in the middle of a sentence and moving it to the front. So that's where we actually want to make the transition. So let's put it there so we can hear it better.